Hey guys, it's Sun from Stories Untold Till Now, and today we'll be delving into the mystical world of fantasy and thriller. This is a thriller that was written by me. I called it The Boulevard House. Now, I am expanding on my writing career, so any comments that you guys have on this would greatly help me to become a better writer. Don't get me wrong, I still want to be a YouTuber. I just would like to come up with original stories, scary stories, to share with you all. If there's anything story-wise that you guys would like to read, just leave a link in the comments and I'll be sure to get to it. Without further ado, let's dive into the deep depths of this story. There was a twinkle on the cement from the freshly poured rain. It looked like stars dancing that had fallen from the sky. In the air, you could smell freshly cut grass, and in the distance, in the moonlight walk, beyond the monarch trees, lay a house made of white quartz and had black trim that flowed through the house like veins. Vines that consumed the left side of the house and bloomed Lady of the Nights. Their jasmine scent filled the air. This was considered the peak of cinematic houses that every fantasy moviegoer wanted to live in. Dreams of a fantastical romance between two people from a broken home that seemed to be less broken after they found each other. That fantasy in the Rosenwood town was realer than you could think. The Rosenwood town was built at the height of the industrial era. This is where nobles and higher-ranking people lived. They mingled in their very own society, a world much different from ours. Today, however, the town lay in ruins, many of the mansions decrepit, picturing a post-apocalyptic society. Between the ruins, exposed in the air, murmurs of the past recounted their fantastical tales. All was true, but not for the Boulevard House, owned by one of the most influential people in the world to help build and establish railroads. The problem with this story is that that's as far as the history of the house goes. It seems after it's built, any history after that would be a fog, stepping in to never be seen again. The house that had remained empty for countless of years and has been used in the past decades from random moving homeless people had found itself still in pristine condition as when it was first erected. No matter how many vandalists came to tag the house with their signs or how many people stole from the house, the outward appearance of the house would assume its perfect shape. Any broken windows, doors, or tattered wall the very next day had been replaced, seamless, as if damage was never inflicted on in the first place. By whom, though? No one still knows the answer to this phenomenon. There have been countless people who have done 24-hour challenges, and not one of them was ever seen again. This occurred so much so that the police ended up stepping in. Police would search the house and find nothing. No bodies, no clothes, no evidence that a living person had entered the residence. There were thick layers of dust inside the home. Items that were taken from the home were able to stay gone and not miraculously reappear. While the old objects didn't return, new objects seemed to take their place every time. Each time a gold item was stolen, another would appear. It got so dangerous to the point that the road to the house was literally dug up, making it impossible to access. Projects to demo the properties and the house would start, but would stop as soon as the first day. Equipment would go missing, and even some workers. The mansion was rumored to be an evil entity that would swallow its prey for them taking something or doing something that it didn't like. Now we fast forward to a few months after those incidents, and the home was practically sold for free to a rich young woman in her early 20s who wanted nothing more than to live in the house. Everyone warned her about the disappearances, and that many bet that she wouldn't survive a single day. But the one thing they didn't count on was that this young woman was simply looking for her final resting place, her own beautiful, eternal tomb. So what if her body couldn't be found? It would be less trouble for her and everyone else. It was a Thursday during a late summer months that she would move in. Movers start at 8 a.m. sharp, cleaning, moving, placing objects. If the rumors were true and the house was mad that she would move items, or really take the items, she decided that she would make sure they were still in their appropriate heights, but just in different areas. Places that didn't match with her sense of style would simply be shifted to another part of the house that did suit it. She made sure that everything was treated carefully. Not a dent, not a scratch. She left it be. She didn't mind giving this whole house respect. For all she cared, she only wanted to be surrounded by beautiful things anyway, even if they weren't her style. Soon, though, when everything was done, she took a deep breath and laid in the middle of the foyer. To the left was the massive kitchen meant to hold parties of 20 or more people. It must have been a bustling sight back in the day. To the right, a large room with an old grand piano and windows that encapsulated around it. Like an old greenhouse that somehow was part of the mansion, no longer in the outside, but mashed itself inside. It was odd, but beautiful. Then, right where she lay, she looked up. A large circular skylight with watercolor pastel panes, hues of lavender, pink, rose gold, yellow, and some soft reds. The colors of the sky settled on her face. Feeling sentimental about her life thus far, and was only about to be cut short, only about 23 years old, she uttered her old childhood greeting. Hello, sky. Hello, marble. Hello, floors. Hello, house. Hello, end of my life. Though the words changed, not their sentiment. Soon after, she decided to get herself off the floor and roam around the house. She acquainted herself with every creaky floorboard, every knob, every mismatched tile, every seamless but yet seemingly unseamless patches of the wall, the color, the smell, the texture, everything. She would acquaint herself quickly, as this would be her home. If the rumors were true and she only did have 24 hours to stay alive in this house, she was okay with that. At least she would be exploring the house and encapsulate it in her memory. It was the least she could do, the last beautiful sight. Soon she found herself to two large oak double doors that were a soft brown color with bright gold handles. She turned the handles a bit rough, expecting it to be a bit hard to open. After all, the house has not been opened to the public in a while. But somehow, it was as if the doors were never shut in the first place. The ease of opening the door and the wind that blew in her face. Soon she looked out, and the marvelous mazes of flowers were now dried up. She could see the remnants of hibiscuses, tulips, peonies, and even roses all about the garden. The beautiful shrubs and different types of trees were also sad, depressed, as if they too had lost something important. As she walked down the mossy sidewalk, she would soon see a gazebo, a jet black quartz gazebo with strikes of gold through it, mimicking lightning. It was gorgeous. The way the sun hit and reflected it truly made it seem like a diamond in the rough. She walked closer, seeing the dead old vines cling to it, and in one swift motion she grabbed it and took it off. She said softly to it, as if it were alive, "Don't worry, even if this is my last 24 hours, may you continue to shine so beautifully as the day you were built." Then, continuing forward on her path, she saw a large, natural pool of water. The steps were made of limestone, but appeared in a nice cream-colored, smooth texture. It was a naturally occurring pool. There was grasses and there was lilies in it, but the water was pristine, see-through, a crystal blue that hadn't been seen in years. Without hesitation, she kicked off her shoes and jumped in, not caring that her clothes would be wet, not caring at all, for if this was the last 24 hours, who cares if her clothes got wet? Soon she floated to the top and closed her eyes, allowing her to feel her breath, her heart, the motion of the water under her, and the sound of the soft waves beckoning her. She wasn't sure how long she was there. It felt like a trance, one lulling her to a deep sleep. Soon, though, she recognized that it was getting dark, and fast. She slowly got out of the water and headed back to the beautiful oak doors. They were closed this time. She wondered if the true fight would begin now, if the doors would lock her out like some horror movie, or if a maniac would come out of the woods somewhere, or maybe even a monstrous water creature that would somehow form to claim her life. Yet, as soon as she touched the handle, those thoughts went away. She pushed the handle up and pulled it toward her, and the door opened. Surprisingly, there was a trail of towels, neatly placed, heading all the way to the bathroom. She was perplexed by this, as who could have left that there? What was more perplexing was that the items that she had moved to the side had now been placed in the original spots. The gold odd statues, for example, one of them seemed like a man, but not quite, like a mixture of sorts, as if a tree were to become a man, if that makes sense. Her items were now placed where she had put the original items. It was odd. It's as if the house swapped those items back, allowing her to tread, but reminding her that this was not truly her home. But for all she cared, she could run into a ghost and thank it if it were to end her life. You see, what she suffered from was an illness that was no cure, one that was eating her life, day by day. Continuing on the path of the towels, she walked into the bathroom to see a freshly brewed bath. There was bubbles and even some flowers in it. It was a nice milky color. She put her hand in the water to feel around. She could feel the warmth, the safety, and she allowed herself to indulge in this weakness. She removed all her scraps of clothing and slowly slid into the water, relaxing and closing her eyes. Soon enough, it was clear that she would soon fall into a deep sleep. Then the tempo picked up. Her heart began to race. There was vines and leaves coming out of every corner of her body, all of them going toward her heart. The major vines, they were dark purple with flowers. She couldn't breathe. It It was suffocating. She could hear the doors slam, people screaming. She wasn't understanding what was happening. But then, as she was laying there, and not understanding the pain that she was feeling throughout her whole body, she could see it. A mirror. Black one. Soon it changed, and she could see the mansion from inside. It was odd. It reminded her of her old fairy tale growing up, Beauty and the Beast, where you could see Belle through the mirror. But this time, she wasn't looking at a handsome man or a handsome woman. She was looking at her own mansion. She couldn't move, but her eyes could. What she saw was horrific. There had been people who had broken into her house, but there was a dark entity that was there, consuming their life force. As soon as this dark figure touched it, and it had no shape, oddly enough, it was a dark mist, but as soon as the dark mist got close to the person, all life drained away. Soon there was nothing left. It shrank and shrank and shrank until it became this odd, black, pristine quartz, like the one that she saw in the gazebo. Then, as if on cue, the entity crushed it, and she felt it. It was reverting through her whole body, shivering, trembling. But something was changing. She didn't feel threatened, nor did she feel sick. The pain that she had been feeling in her heart had much lessened now. It was as if those years of clutching her chest and waiting for the one day that she would fall out was gone. Soon enough, her vision went black again. Then, when it came time to arouse, she found herself in the bathtub, still in the water, her skin pruned, her hands hurt, but there were no sign of vines, as if everything she had was a bad dream. She looked up, and in the small window, she could see that it was daytime. She had survived this mansion. Well, she was rather disappointed. All the things that people have said, and look, it wasn't even true. She sighed and got up, grabbed a towel, well, one of the ones that was off the floor, and wrapped herself in it. She looked at herself in the mirror, and oddly enough, there was color returning to her face. When she had gotten sick, she lost her beautiful golden color and then turned into more of a sickly pale ghost. She could feel the heat under her skin, the rosiness of her cheeks and lips, a sight that had gone unseen for years now. She couldn't understand, nor could she believe it. But then she heard the thump. Thump, 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 thump. It was rhythmic, almost soldier-like, a march. She listened. Thump, 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 thump. She walked closer to it. She had to leave the bathroom, of course. Then she walked down, still hearing it, but distant. She walked down the stairs to the left, and behind the stairs were more rooms. She hadn't noticed it before, as she didn't really like dark corners, but she kept hearing it. The thump getting a little louder. She continued down this dark hall, in nothing but a towel, of course. She knew that if she was an actress in a horror movie, she would be the first one to go, no doubt. She continued her walk, and then there was a door. The door led to a decrepit, old, smelly, small hallway. It was stone. The floor had different patterns of stone on the bottom. She looked at the floor, then looked up, and then decided, let's keep going. Something was drawing her, something was calling her, and she decided to follow it. And follow it she did. She went down the hallway and continued. She could hear the sound grow louder. As she made her way around the long hallway that seemed to curve at the end, there was another door. An iron door this time. She sighed and she opened it. She even tested the other handle to make sure that she wouldn't get herself locked in, otherwise there'd be more problems to deal with. She walked beyond. She saw that there was an incinerator, large under the house, assuming to make wood to heat the whole mansion. There was empty crafting tables, dusted tools, even broken chairs. But the heartbeat was still loud. It came from somewhere. She went toward the incinerator and realized, no, that's not where it's coming from. She turned around, and that's when she saw it. At first, it looked like the old vines that had died in a fire surrounding the inside, as if the outside somehow merged with the inside. But then as she walked closer, she saw black sludge slipping down from the veins of those vines, and then a heart. The heart was a deep-set purple, but also had that weird yellow lightning strike in the middle, more of a goldish color. She walked toward it, and then realized something. Her chest started to feel funny. She looked down, and she saw the same black vine, now appearing again on there. She didn't understand what she was seeing. Had she been drugged? Did she eat something funny? It was too much for her. Too much. But then she heard the echoes of something or someone. Whispers, murmurs. To whomever enters this house, with heart of gold and of sound mind, those who live in the moment, those who are not after treasure, but to live day by day, shall be welcomed with open arms. It was a silly saying that she saw, or heard, or felt. She wasn't sure where it came from, but it was something that was clear as day to her. She took a step back and decided that this was enough, that she needed to get out of this house. But before she could, she tried to run, and those black vines encapsulated her whole body, around her neck, legs, arms, even her mouth, and held her tight. It brought her closer to the heart. Now there was black ooze slipping all over her, and she started to cry out. She struggled, she fought, but she didn't understand. But then there was a ring. One of those bells she hadn't heard in a long time. She froze, and once again a black mirror appeared, but this time it came from under her, the black sludge slowly rising up to be in front of her, and then perfectly forming that mirror so she could also see the mansion again. She watched as two more intruders entered. They had cameras. They were discussing how this would be another 24 hours and how they would find the mysterious young woman's body. She wanted to tell them to get out, to run away, but nothing, no strength, nothing could get her out. Then she saw it again. The mist. The two young men started to scream. They tried to escape, but they couldn't. It was as if that mist was easily able to paralyze them by just being around them. There was coughing, they were struggling, but one thing she noticed was that there was vines this time attached to them like they were her. But instead of sucking the life out of her, It was returning life to her. Each time the vine struck at the young men, she could feel the life force entering her. Alive, safe, no longer in pain. Then she realized it. This house wouldn't be her tomb. This house would be her eternal salvation. This house would serve as her savior. Hey guys, it's me again, and I truly hope you enjoyed that story. I know some of it may not have made complete sense, but I truly did enjoy writing this. If you guys like my style or, have suggestions for me to improve, let me know. Most of this was impromptu when I was speaking. So while I did have some of it written down, I didn't have a lot of it. So once more, if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. As always, I thank you all for staying loyal and staying with me. And I hope you guys stay sunny.